Hi, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. What is this? Little tiny bit of hair. Okay, I am back. Like my door, it's not set up. I feel all over the place. Oh, I don't know. Can you guys hear me? That's always the problem. Can you guys hear me? My headset is not. Hold on one second. Mm-hmm. Okay, there. Because I didn't even have it plugged in. I'm like, can you hear me? What's going on? I don't know what to do. And I literally did not have anything plugged in. So, yes, you're right. I wasn't audible. Ugh, I wasn't, I wasn't, I wasn't audible. Oh, there. I wasn't audible. Okay, so I'm back. Hi, guys. Welcome. Welcome to the MoniqueEmpath show. I am MoniqueEmpath, and I'm your psychic medium, your resident psychic medium for the day. Yep, I am. I'm your resident psychic medium for the day. Let's get not too many lights. Oh, all right. Okay, we are here. Okay, welcome, welcome. We're here today. We are going to talk about some ghosting thingies and the dead. And I never anticipated that the monarch of my country would pass today. I didn't. I don't know. Maybe intuitively, I felt something like that. I don't know. I didn't really think of it. but that's rather interesting that that has happened today or now because we are also talking about. So yes, I wasn't audible because I didn't have my mic plugged in, but now I believe I'm audible and I think I'm being heard. So hi Aishka, you're feeling so anxious. Well, I am here. I am here. Okay. So I am Monique Empath. I'm a psychic medium. I like to think I'm really intuitive. So I like to give readings to see how intuitive I am. It's kind of like a test. I don't know. It's kind of like a test to see how intuitive I am all the time that I'm giving readings. That the more I give, the more I'm trying to whatever I should give up. I just really want to sit really far back. Okay, so yes, I'm all over the place. So yeah, I'm we're gonna answer some questions. So if you have some psychic questions, go ahead, post them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. Also, yeah, we're gonna talk about. I don't know if anybody really cares about being a medium. I myself, I did mediumship readings for a lot of my career, but slowly I decided to not do so much mediumship readings. Um, I decided to not do so much mediumship readings because I don't know, there's a lot of grief and coping with grief and managing grief. And sometimes a mediumship reading can just like not help with that. Sometimes it can, but generally it doesn't help. Usually, grieving is something that you have to kind of do independently. I think people are always looking for closure on top of the closure. Like when somebody passes, there there often feels like there's no closure because you often don't get that last moment, or even if you do get that last moment, you still kind of want something more. And so a mediumship is always continuously giving you that more ship, that more, the ability to continue the dynamic with that person. So then you never really, in my opinion, often people never really get the opportunity to kind of grieve and heal on their own because they're often looking for that. But sometimes it is. I always say to clients that looking at mediumship and it think of it as like if that person were living, consciously living, whether they're living or dead is a debate. If that person was actually living, what would you need of them at that moment? Like what would you need? And I think when people pass, although we're grieving, our bodies and our minds tend to kind of um comprehend like get it like an absolution of you no longer have contact with that person. So then things that you would need that person for, you're subconsciously and physically no longer going to them for that or engaging in them for that. So the more time that they're past and the time you start to lose the incentive, the thought process to engage with that. So then when you have a mediumship reading, it's kind of like like what would I have needed this person for? So I always say, um, I always say that if you're getting a mediumship reading, think of it as like if this person were here, what value can they add? Like, do you have a question about something? Did that person always give you advice about your career or your job? So you are now looking for that person for advice. But to ask questions like, how are they doing? I miss you. Okay. Those things are very common. And of course, you can ask a question. You can ask a question. You post your questions in the chat. And when we get to a question and answer, so post your question in the chat. And then when I start to get to the segment of answering questions, I will read your questions. Um, so yeah, so that's how I feel about mediumship readings. Again, I think like it's something that sometimes prolongs the grieving process or does not contribute to the grieving process for the sake of you're continuing that conversation, and the only way you can have that conversation is through a medium. So you then become dependent on that medium to have a relationship. It's like a third party. And then also I feel that the idea that the person's gone and you wanna communicate with them means that you actually have things you wanna ask or say, or it's very constructive, I would guess, and a lot of times when somebody's passed, your body, your mind, and your senses start to realize they haven't passed, so you don't really then develop any structure. Oh, I didn't know questions popped there. Any, structured questions. So then it always becomes like, "What should I ask that person?" Well, if they're alive, what but, um, there's a whole so I like to bind okay, so let me do my intro and we'll talk about that because what I'm gonna talk about is how I think I mean, there's no way to scientifically validate this, so this is all our theories, our thoughts, our conversations here of how I feel that you can or we all can communicate with somebody who's passed on in our lives and keep that communication open. So I'll talk about it. I have some sciencey things, and when I say sciencey things, I'm like just like less spiritual and more the probables of science and the possibility of communication beyond. And I'll talk about the more spiritual stuff and like my beliefs and stuff like that, and also tips and tricks. All right, so I'm gonna play my intro and then we will get back to our party.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small.
All right, didn't mean to play that twice, but it was on a loop. Okay, so yes, we will talk about the living and the dead, and then I will answer your questions when I get to the question and segment part. But for now, post your questions in the chat. It acts as like a placeholder, so by the time I get there, I can just go back and see who's asked questions. Okay, communicating with the deceased. Okay, so theoretically, this is a theory. This is a running theory I have, me being a medium, that the energy that somebody has within inside of them to keep them alive or keep them their heart beating, that energy is an um invisible matter that we can't see. Just as we have electricity, hydro poles, Wi-Fi, they're all invisible matters that we can't see, right? Um when you are charging your phone and you plug it into the wall, you can see the cord plugged into the wall, but you can't see the power. We can't see current with our visible eyes generally unless it transforms into something. Um, so I have a theory and perceive that that energy that is powering us, the electricity, the current, the power that is powering us exists like exists entirely. Like it's almost like we are in a sea of it and we are it's existing entirely. So that energy is powering the human body, is powering animals, is powering plants, any living thing, it's powering it. So if that human human their physical body stops utilizing the power that's being energized in them, so their physical body stops utilizing that power. So again, if you had like a device, like a phone, and the phone was not working for some reason. And even when you plugged it in, there's no power going to it. So the phone is not utilizing the energy that is being powered to it. So the physical body, not utilizing the energy that's powered in it, the physical body will no longer be animated. Animated meaning move, talk, animated, like be able to walk, talk, all those kind of things. So the physical body needs an enormous, a dense amount of power, and so if the physical body is not utilizing that, I feel I feel that the power still exists. Like that energy still exists. Like when you plug in, if you have current through your home, the current is always running through the walls. You realize it running through the walls when you plug in your phone and you could see your phone says charging. That's you using your conscious mind, your visualize to see that the phone is being powered. You can now see the effects of the energy. When you unplug your phone, you can't see the energy. You know it exists, but you can't see it. It can no longer animate the phone unless there's a battery or whatever. So that's how I feel. I feel when the human body is no longer animated and can no longer animate itself and move and all those things, that there's still a current that was contributed to that body. So that body is still there's still a current, a lesser current, a current that cannot power that body. Um, so where would that current be, or what would that current do? What would that current look like? So again, if you take your phone out of unplug your phone out of the wall, unplug it, there's a current there. And maybe silently, if everything's really silent, you can sometimes hear the buzz of current. You know, when you get a blackout and everything just sounds so dead, so silent. So there might be that you could take your phone out and then have that kind of current through the just gonna check something here. And have that kind of current going through the uh oh yeah, cool. And have that current so you would know that current is there. You just can't see it manifesting or materializing on other things. So what is that current doing while it's in the wall? It still has information, I guess you could say the particles, the atoms of energy still carry information. So if it's like a hydro um power, it's still going to have the information and the particles and the structure to create the energy to power a device. If it's Wi-Fi, it's still going to have the structure, the elements, the particles, the atoms that are um applicable to Wi-Fi and internet and broadband and all that kind of stuff, right? So the information and the energy still exists even though you can't see it and you can't materialize it. I feel that's what it's like with humans, that when the energy is not powering my body, that energy still exists within me. The only difference is I don't have a physical expression for the energy, so it still exists. Once that energy from birth was manifested, I feel like it continues to exist. The energy continues to exist. There's thoughts of maybe that energy goes into another physical form. So you are powering your phone, you plug in your phone, it doesn't work. The device, the body does not work anymore. It cannot animate itself. So you get a different phone and you plug that in, and now that can animate itself. So there's all these talks about like your energy can move through into different things and animate itself. And I guess that's where some of the understandings or beliefs of reincarnation comes from, that you could reincarnate your home. I mean, your home. It's because I'm looking at somebody asking about a house. I see your question about the house. Reanimate into an animal or another human or those kind of things. That's a whole other topic. We could talk about reincarnation another day. But to just say that your body can the energy is still there. Now, I like to think, again, we could talk about reincarnation and moving different things, but I like to think that we are, I don't want to say we are two parts, we are whole, we are one, but I like to think that the energy that powers our physical body is one aspect of ourselves. And that's how I move and talk and whatever. And then there's the energy that's powering my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, the energy that I would project onto other people or other people. I feel I like to articulate that that's like another aspect of yourself. So you have the physical, and then it makes sense, right? You have the spiritual, and spiritual for me would be our thoughts, our emotions, our pat like our passions, but not the actual passion, but that feeling that you get, that drive, that v the oomspa, the moxie, the temperament, what kind of are you introverted or extroverted? Like how I feel like those are all the spiritual energy, and those are all the energy that you can't see with your physical eyes but do exist. So that would be the equivalent to when I was talking about hydro being the energy, um, and hydropower going into your house and nothing's plugged in and the hydropower is still ready to power your house. The information of how those wires connect and, all the physics of that is still contained in there. And so to me, that would be like one aspect, the hydro that you can't see that's not powering something, but it's still there, all the information. But I know when I plug it in, it's going to do because it's ready for that. It has that information. And then the physical thing of what I see. So I like to think of ourselves as, again, I don't want to think of ourselves as two, like we're duality, but I like to think there's those aspects of ourselves. So again, so I like to think that when somebody's deceased, that they still are existing in a non-physical animated form, that their energy is still capsulated. Well, it no longer has the barriers of that physical body. It is more fluid. It's more like air. Just think of air. Like when I hold my breath or I breathe, make myself dizzy. When I read when I read the oh, I see questions that I'm starring and I'm going to get them. Um so yeah, physical energy in the spiritual body. Okay, so when I'm when a person's deceased, again, not that there's two aspects of not that there's we're split into 2 things, but I just think there's aspects of ourselves, and the aspects of ourselves where we don't have a physical body to animate, we still have our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts. It's still, um, that those emotions, thoughts, and that energy and the information that was held within that energy still exists. You're just not limited by the constraints of the physical body. So with the physical body, if I want to talk to somebody, I actually have to physically take some actions to talk to them, or I have to drive to them, or walk to them, or pick up the phone, or text. I have to do something. But because that energy is inside my body, and now to communicate that energy, I'm confined in the constraints of my body. But when you aren't confined in the constraints of your body, you are be able to um interact interact with people on a spiritual, emotional, um, drive kind of level, right? Um, so that's what I feel. That's what I feel. That's my beliefs and that's my understanding. Now, a belief is something that those are how I perceive it and what I pick up, right? So to say that's exactly how it is, I mean, I like to say exactly it is, but it's also free for interpretation. Um, so so all that being said, and when you're communicating with someone, you would communicating with a person. So if you have a physical body and you're alive, well, I shouldn't say you're alive, but you have a physical animated body, um, you could communicate with somebody without words. You can communicate with them without physical language. You could we do that all the time. You get a feeling from somebody. Maybe we as humans we get a feeling, but then we contribute that feeling to an expression. Like we feel something and then we layer it. So I feel that person looks sad, or I feel that person is sad. And then you layer it and they're like, because their head's down, or because I know this happened to them, or they're not, we layer it with all the physical material qualities of a human being, but you do start with a feeling often. You do start with just a feeling that you can't left alone you wouldn't be able to explain. But that feeling that's left alone you can't explain is what we call intuition or intuitive insight, intuition, insight, whatever. So, um Kinda like there's not a lot of people in this chat today because I can actually just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then by the time I get to the questions, it'd be like, "Oh, well, there's not many questions," so I don't know, but anyways, I'm gonna keep going because this topic is interesting to me, so if it's interesting to me, it's probably interested somebody else. And I see your questions. I see Kavya, Kava, Kavya, Deepak. I see your question, and Ishika. I see the things that you're communicating. All right. So, how would you communicate with somebody who does not have a physical body? We still communicate with people who don't have a physical body, or we communicate spiritually with people who have a physical body all the time. We just layer it. So it's like the brain will say, I feel this is happening, but we as humans have we're not so inclined to commit to a feeling to validate other things for various reasons. So, as humans, we will feel something, but we're very inclined to materialize that feeling. Instead of just saying, I just feel this way, we tend to want to say, I feel this way. And then we try to find and look for things in our material world to validate what we feel. But if we were just to be able to say, I feel this way, that would be a lot more of intuitive communication. Um, that would be a lot more of intuitive communication as we do that. And that yeah, that's kind of what it is. And me being a reader, it's like I just feel this way and I'm going to mediumship is that. Mediumship is saying I feel something and that's what I'm going to commit to. Like I'm going to just articulate what I feel without judgment or without finding material things in the world to validate that feeling. Also, I think the level of narcissism or the level of understanding of the world is that you're aware that your feeling might not be validated and you're okay with that, or you're aware that your feeling might be essentially wrong, or you're aware that your feeling might not make sense. The awareness of that and the acceptance of that does not negate to being able to still commit to that. um Hi, welcome. Hi, welcome. So we talk about things. You could post a question, and then when I get to the question and answer part, I'll answer your question. Um, so yeah, in our it's a human thing to not want to commit to just a feeling. We want to validate that feelings instead of just saying, I just feel that person is excited, or I feel that person is sad, or I just feel that thing is gonna happen. We tend to want to validate that. We tend to not being able to just accept that and say it's a feeling. We do that with ourselves, but we also do that with each other. I think we also often somebody will say, "I just feel this is going to happen." And then the other person will say, "Well, how do you know or why or that's not whatever." And we start to say, but it should be I would like a world where we could just say we feel things and the person can commit to that and the rest of us doesn't have to say, well, that's 100% true or that's right or wrong, just to accept that's what the person feels and good for them or that's okay. Or you might accept that's what the person feels and you might take that. Well, they feel that. So let me see if I agreed with that, how would that play out in my life? Or let me just, take that information. It's all about being okay with being wrong. It's okay with being okay with the lack of validation for something on certain things, like some things you absolutely need validation for, but that's what intuition does. Intuition leads you to validate something, like it leads you to something, but to say, I just feel that on my own. Hi, Sandra. Welcome. Yeah, to just say that you feel that I did some crazy things with my eyebrows today. I don't know how to whatever. I'm trying new things. Um Yeah, to be able to commit. So intuition or being a psychic is the ability to just commit to a feeling without validation and to be confident in that. Not necessarily you're confident in the outcome, you're confident in what you feel. Like that's what you feel. That's what you feel is happening and be confident. I feel that. It's kind of like back in the old days, growing up, there was an old style of parenting where you would say, "I don't feel so good about that," and the parent would say, "That's dumb. You shouldn't feel that way." You know? it's an old style of parenting, and now it's kind of like a very controlling kind of thing, but it was a kind of parenting where it's kind of saying, I guess it was the idea was, like, trying to give the child or the person a different look on something or trying to show them that what they're feeling might not be in line, but I think that's a big negative. Thank you, Chandra. I think that's a big negative. I think you should be able to just say, "Hey, I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's scary," and being able to just commit to that. Okay, so anyway, so all that talk about being able to just commit to an idea is what leads to be able to communicate with the deceased. There is never going to be a validation of hold on. There's never going to be a moment where the individual who's deceased is going to come back and validate that in a material form. So it's communicating on a spiritual level and looking for validation in a material world. That's where we run into problems. Um, if you receive validation in a material form, then sure, that's great. And you'd be like, oh, lucky. But to if you are communicating spiritually with someone, the answers are gonna come back spiritually, you know? And spirituality does not have a material validation. Like, as sciencey as I am, and as much as a science, I can come close. I can come very close, but I don't come close. You don't come close to validating um something that we can't see, I guess you would say. We don't come close to actually validating that. Like, you don't turn the spiritual into a material. We don't do that, and we don't want to do that. But what we can do is we come close in the sense of we take the spiritual and then we layer it with a whole bunch of things and we follow it, and then it may present himself or make itself in an idea. I guess it's kind of like using a Ouija board. The idea of the Ouija board is you call out to the spirits, and the spirits are communicating spiritually, but the Ouija board is giving us a medium to communicate. If you are down for the Ouija boards or whatever, if you're into that. I don't know if that's what tarot cards users look people look at it like that, but again, a tarot, any tool that you use to communicate this what's going on in the spiritual is just a tool. So really, the communication is spiritual, and the tool is trying to bring that to whatever, right? You don't need tarot. You don't need tarot or tools or anything to communicate spiritually. We do that already. We do that all the time. I'm doing that now. You're doing that with me. Whether you think you're intuitive or not, you are. You're always putting out an energy that other people pick up. Whether they pick it up accurately to what's going on with you or not or whatever is besides the point. The point is that we're picking up something. So so communicating with the deceased would be the intuitive communication without a tool or without a validation. And that's where it becomes seemingly hard. Not hard, but that's why people think like, oh, it's hard or it's difficult. It's the idea that I'm gonna communicate with somebody who does not have a physical body, and they can't communicate back, so how do I know, or what do I know what they're saying, or what do I know what they need, or what do I if are they hearing me? Again, you would have to it starts off with I know this is cliche, but it starts off with you. It starts off with you being confident in what you feel or what you perceive, and when it comes to loved ones that's passed away, you have to remember you did have a bond. You did have an energy exchange with them while they were living. No, it's not like you could just completely always read people's minds, but the point is that you had a kind of energy with them. That energy does exist still. Again, like I said, when you plug, oh, like I plugged in the mic, when you plug your device, your electronic device or whatever it is, into the wall, there's an energy that's already in the walls, like in the wires. There's an energy that's already there. You already have a relationship with that energy. When I flick on the light switch, I already have a relationship with this house where I know where the light switches are before I even turn them on. I know the kind of brightness they're gonna whether they're cool lights or warm lights or that or whether they're a spotlight or a lamp. I know all this stuff before I know all this stuff before I actually say so I have a relationship to this house, to the energy, even though I haven't flicked on the light. If I move to another house, I may be more ignorant and even take some time, right? Because I'm developing. When I move to a new house and I flick it on, I'm like, oh, those are daylights, and I don't like daylights. I like softer lights or whatever, right? I don't have that. But as when you just like Renisha is saying, she feels her boyfriend Robbie all the time and she talks to him. It was her boyfriend. She had a reading. Of course you guys can get a reading. Post your question in the chat. I'm going to do my I'm and then when we get to the question and answer part, I'll answer your question. Hello, Renee Gibbs. Um yeah, so Renisha was saying she feels her boyfriend. So it was her boyfriend, it was her partner. So she had a bond with her, with that individual. And so think about it. When you are dating somebody or you have a family member and they go off to the store or they go off to work, that energy bond that you have still exists. Like it still exists, but they're not physically with you, right? That how many times have you let's more with a loved one or a friend. But the reason why I pause because I'm like this happens with people you don't even know very well. But let's start with people that you know very very well. Um, how many times that you're away from your partner or your friend or whatever, and then let me think of an example. Let's say I'm shopping at a store and I'm by myself. I was at Shoppers today. Actually, and I was also at Home Hardware. And I was also at the okay, so I was at home I'm trying to think of where this actually applied, so it's like a true story, not just an example. Okay, so I was at Home Hardware, and my daughter, she had lost her water bottle, her school water bottle yesterday. So she has to so either she's gonna find it today or we're planning to just buy her another water bottle. Now, there's a specific type of water bottle that she likes that I know, but there's a million type of water bottles on the market. So, I know the specific one she likes, but then there's other ones, and so I was looking at the other ones and trying to decide, like, she's not with me, so she can't say, "No, I don't like that one," or "No, I don't like that one," or whatever. But because I do know her, right? I was able to say, "Well, I feel like this particular one might be one that she might like, or this particular one she might not like." And again, I'm not talking about, "Oh, I know blue's her favorite color." That's very conscious. That's not intuitive. She's literally told me blue's her favorite color. I'm talking about what is it about that one water bottle that she liked that she never really articulated. So I'm trying to do that. So how many times do we do that? We're somewhere and we're like, "Oh, so and so would love that." Or I could see so and so doing that, or that's something so and so would say. They have not officially said those words for you to be like, "Oh, so and so said that exact thing." And so now I'm in the situation I know. It's kind of like you just know the person. You understand their energy. You're around their energy. It exists. There's a communication. There's a physical communication. There's a verbal communication. There's all kinds of communication, but there's also energetic communication that you are speaking with this person all the time. So when they're not around you, you still can have that intuitive sense. There is this thing that when people pass on, because it's so traumatic to the human mind, the brain can't conceive things never coming back, right? The brain works on patterns, right? So the brain is a pattern and association system. So if it sees the person come through the door, the brain's going to expect that the person's going to come through the door again. Or, and even if you sometimes, oh, they finally moved away and they're never coming back here, the brain will still have the association that that person came through the door. So when somebody passes, the brain can't it wants to recycle that, it can't. So, when you, oh, yeah, so speaking of the energy, you can Renisha says you can just feel their energy and you can call them and something has happened with them, if that makes sense. Yes, or they would say something. Yes, they would it's what you I think we over and I do blame my spiritual community for this. I'm like, "Ugh," but I think we over in this world have done like over exag I don't know if it's over exaggerated, but we've made mediumship and communicating with people passed on, we've exaggerated so much that it's like we've made it seem like something so far from what we can do that it could never happen. But if you slow down your brain and you think for a minute, how many times are you having like intuitive feelings about people who aren't around you, right? I think again, when someone dies, there's that trauma that happens because one, the brain is an association thing and it likes patterns. So when it's not seeing a pattern anymore, and then the external world is telling the brain that that pattern doesn't exist, it takes a moment. That's what trauma is. So trauma is something that could detach you from a moment from remembering how intuitive you actually are or how close you were to that person or whatever. It's just the physical thing again because we layer, right? So when you pick up something intuitively or a feeling about someone, we then layer physical aspects. We say, I feel she's sad, but then we look physically with our eyes to see if the person's body language is sad. So we just layered it on. So we are layering a lot of material things, physical things that then push the original intuition down to the bottom, but it all started there. So when someone dies and we don't have those layers, we now have to go back to our own intuition. And it feels, even as I'm saying that, it feels cold. It feels like I don't have enough to go on, but it's still there. So I guess what I'm saying is that communicating with somebody intuitively, whether they've passed their uh, their physically with you or not physically with you, is the same. It does not change within my theories and everything I'm saying. It does not change, right? You still have that bond. You just don't have the physical things to confirm that bond. So it goes back to like my story with my daughter and her water bottle. Looking, I didn't end up buying one. To be honest, I didn't know because I wanted to. I saw the exact water bottle that she had before, and I was just gonna buy that. But the interest, and this might sound weird, but I think you'll get it. It was the only one left on the shelf, right? So the one that she wanted was the only one there. But there was this world of other water bottles. So I could have just bought the one without thinking of it. But then as I'm looking at all these other water bottles in different designs, I started thinking like, maybe, maybe there's a design that she would have liked or a different way it opens that she would have liked. So then I started to have to like embody her and like think, what do I know about to whatever. But I didn't pick one just because I wanted her to have, she's a child, so it's different. I think with a partner or someone older, I would probably have just picked one because it's like they would have appreciated it. And I'm pretty sure she would appreciate, but because of the child, kids like to do those things. So that's the only reason why I didn't buy a different one. And that's also why I didn't buy the exact one. I was trying to purchase something based on intuition. I was trying to use my intuition to do something. And I think I would have been successful, but that's the only thing. So there you go. You could use your intuition to actually make a material response or make a material answer. But you have to first trust yourself ultimately. And anytime that I give these talks about intuition or how to use your intuition or whatnot, it always comes down to trust yourself. And I see Aishka, Ashika, I see your other question. And Kenny Tatum, I see your question too. I think question and answer is going to be fun. There's a theme with some of you guys' questions. Anyway, so that's yeah, so communicating with somebody who's passed on, the idea is that there's a bond that you have and that bond is a energetic bond and spiritual whatever. What that is that there's energy within everything and every little tiny particle of energy has some information to be told, just like the Wi-Fi power cords, fibers, the internet fibers, the heat, the gas, everything. All these things with, well, heat, gas, whatever, but all these things with electricity, they have a reason. Like when I plug certain of my lights into a power source, I know what that's gonna do. When I'm walking around my house, I know what the lights are gonna look like or where they are or whatever. I already have a bond with that. I already understand that energetically. And that would last. That would continuously last. So you have that. Again, when people die, we always feel like everything's lost, but that energetic connection is still there. The only thing that's not there is their physical body. And as humans, we're very inclined to want to validate, or we struggle to commit to our own feelings. We need an external validation of our own feelings, and that's in reverse. If we can all work on to commit to your feeling, it's okay. If everybody loves something and you hate it, commit to that. Like, just commit to your feelings. If you hate something and you can't explain why, that's okay too. You could just say it just doesn't feel right, and they go, but why don't you like caramel on your ice cream? I hate caramel on my ice cream. I just hate it. I could go into a long speech of why I hate it, but can't I just say no thank you? Like, that's enough. That should be enough. And that's what I think. So let me play this little no, I'm not gonna play this little ad. Um Ooh, you guys some got some good questions. So yeah. So when you're communicating with your loved ones, again, going back to the beginning for people who missed it, I am a medium. So I do mediumship readings, but I do less of them because over the years I've realized and learned about the major grieving process and what death how death is a traumatic experience. I started to try to understand trauma in relation to loss, because trauma could be anything, many things, but I started to understand trauma through loss, and I understand that there's no difference between someone who's passed versus it's a traumatic experience. So the things that someone needs to heal from a trauma, it should be no different from how they heal from a loss. And so giving a mediumship, one of the things of healing is to accept the reality of something, accept the change, because trauma is usually a drastic change, right? And so when you lose somebody, the part of healing is to accept that they're no longer with you and to kind of let your brain, it's not even you. So it's not like, oh, you take too long or you don't, whatever. It's literally, you can blame your brain. The brain is a pattern thinking thing. It's a association machine. So when it's saying I want to associate this with this, and when it there's a block and it can't, it's gonna take some while for the brain to reprogram its stuff and relook at stuff. So you have that. There's a physical, psychological, or I should say physical psychiatric thing, a physical psychiatric thing about grieving. I want to hear more about this. A physical psychiatric thing about grieving, that you literally, it's going to take moments for your brain and your mind to conceive that that person is no longer animated and being able to communicate with you and interact with you on a physical level. So you have to allow for that process to happen. Trying to jump that process is not good for yourself. Then there's the whole emotional, routine aspect. You're so used to going to grandma's house, or you're so used to going there. So now you have to start to adjust to a different routine, and that takes time. Then it's whatever, um, like this would be the psychological part, but it's whatever like challenges you may have had with that person that now aren't resolved, and now you're left to resolve them on your own. It's whatever extra love you want to get. It's like all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that literally has to happen within the grieving process for you to even get healing. And then it varies, right? So one thing is not going to take super fast, and then that, and then that. It's not calculated like that. It's time that you take for that. So I found that mediumship, while clients were coming to me to ask them about someone who's passed, it was a lot of times they were getting, then after the reading, accurate or not, like whatever, it had nothing to do with the reading being well, it did, but a lot of times it's like now they're stuck in that because now they've communicated with that loved one through a medium. So the brain is like, "Oh, nope, I can still do it. Oh, no, I don't have to acknowledge that they're gone. I can still do it." And then after weeks of not having a mediumship, the brain is like, "Wait a minute, why isn't?" So now it just prolongs the grieving process, I found. Um Er Erica Burt, she says, I had a mediumship," so she had a mediumship reading, and she says she hated it and asked God to take it back. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you wanna share, you don't have to, but it is, I again, the ability to communicate I'm gonna say intuitively, but I'm gonna say emotionally, through emotions and feelings and vibes through someone is common. That is a human thing. I'm not doing it because I'm magical, mystical. I'm doing it because I'm human and my life is just I've just geared my life to do that, right? Instead of going to the office and doing accounting each day. I've geared my life to do this, but it's a human thing. We all do that. I've just chose to dedicate my life to that. And it's simple for me and it's fun, so there's passions in that. So to look at somebody who's a psychic medium as as if they're going to do something greater for you, we need to I think we need to reassess that in life. I think we need to reassess that in life. And I'm not knocking mediums. I'm not saying don't go to a medium. I'm just saying that we need to start to look at what this person is offering you and the where you are in your life for it. Um yeah, because if you ask questions about, "Oh, am I gonna buy this house?" or "Oh, am I gonna get this car?" or "What does my girlfriend think of me?" or "What does my partner think of me?" or those kind of things, right? You still can assert your control over the reading or the outcome. I have a whole live where I talk about autonomy within psychic readings, and just because a psychic says something, even if it's super accurate, you still have autonomy over a future that hasn't happened, right? But when it comes to very emotionally and I'm gonna say traumatic situations, and you're seeking a medium for that traumatic situation, that if it's not comfortable, that is like like putting salt in the wound of a trauma, you know? Um, Even if, let's say, like, it was a good reading, a good mediumship, but you just walk away thinking like, "I don't feel comfortable with that." That is not easy. It's a trauma. I think as mediums and psychics, we have to be aware of the clients or people coming to us for certain things where a trauma is involved. I think that is where I always say I'm a psychic. I could tell you what I think is happening. I could, predict some things, but I can't create your life for you. I can't fix your life for you. I can't help you work out traumas. I'm not a psychologist. That's what a psychologist for. And if you don't want to go to a psychologist because you don't believe in them, what I'm still hearing from individuals is that they're going through something where they need someone specific for that challenge that they're having. So if I don't have anything specific to give to you, then that's where. So I'm sorry that happened to you. And maybe the consolation of that experience that you have, which it could be more, but it's to know that the medium was just an individual. They were human too. That they are not they are not God. Even if they have really good skills, they are not God. They're here with you on earth. They are humans too. So we don't want to elevate that individual. We don't want to de-elevate that individual. That individual has chose to be a medium. But hopefully maybe the consolation is that it's okay that you did not like it. And it's okay that you wanted to take it back. And that's gotta be such an uncomfortable feeling, especially if you went into that with want something and then it was not so good. So There you go. Yeah, I'm seeing all your questions. Awesome. Another person, another what do you call it? Listener, viewer, another viewer from Facebook. Brenda Murray writes, I had a mediumship reading. My husband passed 3 months ago. I also have a terminal illness. Just wanting to peek into my future. Okay, so this is where okay. So Brenda is articulating, she's sharing her story and what she's been through, and she's sharing what is motivating her to want to peek into her future. Um that makes sense to me. Not that I'm trying to judge people, but that like I'm saying that makes sense. It's saying that these things have influenced me to do that thing, to look into my future, whatever. My first one of my very well, not it wasn't my well, yeah, one of my very first clients was a young girl who um suffered from a terminal illness that she beat. Well, it could have been terminal, but I guess it wasn't terminal. She beat it. Um and she came to me for a mediumship, and I was like, "Whoa, like, I'm not gonna predict life and death, no." But no, she articulated that being in this situation has caused her to look at life broader and try to see things and just kind of those kind of things. That makes a lot of sense to me. Sure, we can take a look at that, Brenda. Um all right, so yeah, so you guys, I don't know how much I gave you, but you guys should be equipped to have at least understanding of how you can communicate with people who have passed on in your lives, and to know that the energy that existed where you had intuitive feelings or you thought, and when I say intuitive, it's just a feeling. I feel my husband would have said this, or I feel he would have done this, or I think so. Even though I wish he wouldn't have done this, I feel like this is what he would have done, or this is what he would say. Those things all still exist even after the person is, in my theory, those things exist even after the person is not physically there. And it does make it a little bit more difficult because with those feelings, when they're physically here, we can validate them by waiting. Like I can wait for my daughter to come home from school to take her to buy the water bottles so I can validate the which one I kinda thought she would more lean to. I can validate that, but if I wasn't able to validate that, I can still confidently say, "I think I feel that's the one," you know? And also with receiving, so that's communicating too, but with receiving information, it's the same thing. It's like to be able to, and this gets a little bit more tricky because receiving information puts you in a position where you have to practice no judgment. And I don't mean judgment as in like, oh, scolding people. I mean no judgment in the fact that try to take away, and this is going to be opposite, but follow me to the end, says a preconceived answer. So and so it's like if you're asking your partner, "What should I do about the house?" And you have a feeling of what your partner might have said or whatever, but you really are more looking for like an answer, like whatever, to be able to meditate your mind away or release all anxiety about it, release all fear, and being able to purely just ask the question and sit there until you start to feel something. That's a little bit, I'll tell you that part is a little bit difficult because many times when we're asking our loved ones who have passed on something that we need to know, there's an urgency, there's an anxiousness, there's a fear, but the idea is to don't ask during that time, to table that and say, "I really need to know this. I wonder what my friend would say, who's passed. I wonder what she would say about this." And then what okay, so I would table that, do some other things or whatever, maybe write it down in a journal, and then a day where I do feel calm and peace to ask that question at that time. That is helping you to reserve your own fears and things over the receiving, because it's easier to send out than it is to no, it's not easier to do one or the other. Sending out energy, humans tend to be a little bit more confident about what we're sending out. We often say, "Well, that's how I felt. You should have known, or you should have, or I did that." Like we're very we feel we're more transparent than anything. So we tend to send out. receiving, we receive things just as well, but we tend to question or filter or put our own things on the things we've received. All right. So I yammered quite a bit. Um I yammered, hi Tina. I yammered quite a bit. So let's get to some questions. Yeah, I don't have any like ad spots to play. You guys, SodaStream has a new kombucha out. I have to order it online, which I'm going to. But every time I'm in my store, my grocery stores or whatever, they're like, "Oh, they have the kombucha in." Or no, I know that they have it there, and then I go and they're all out, and it's just like all out of everywhere. It's just like I don't know. Everybody's loving the SodaStream kombucha thing. I think it's like the greatest. I'm yet to try it, so I'm reserving my. I feel like it's gonna be really good, but I feel like I might not love it, like just taste wise. Yeah. Um, that's my intuition. So we'll see. Maybe I'll love it. Hopefully, I'll love it. All right, let's switch to a little bit of questions and answers, guys. Let's do some question and answers. So I'm going to play Hi from New Zealand. I'm going to play the intro for the question and answers, and then we're going to go in there.
Hi, it's Vanolia from South Africa here.
Hello, this is Sky C.
Hello, many blessings. My name is Joe.
My name is Aishu.
Hi, Moni. I want to know.
All right, so we are back. Oh, let's put this thing, although it's going to block my beautiful door. Guys, I found this on Marketplace. It's just amazing. It's like this old vintage door with these like, oh my gosh, I love it. It's too small. I mean, it's too large for that door. It's an exterior door, and that's obviously an interior door. And so I do want to cut it down to size. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to cut it down to size. Yeah, absolutely. But now I love it so much. I'm like, I don't want to. But the thing is, the amount that I would have to cut it down to size will actually like the little peephole, it's so silly. I'm gonna have like a peephole in my interior door. Whatever. I do what I want. I do what I want. But the peephole, with the piece that I don't have to cut down, the peephole is slightly off centered. The part that I am gonna cut down makes the peephole dead center. And then the height of it, there's a little bit of a bottom that I kind of have to fix a little bit. So cutting that off. So the things that I have to do to make it fit the interior door actually are going to be beneficial for the door. But I keep thinking like I don't want to do anything with it. I just want to polish it, paint it, and have it. I guess I would have to exchange my exterior door, but I mean I can do that, but I'm not gonna. So I don't know. It's just I just have it here for decoration right now. Only when I do the live stream. All right. Let's take a look at the questions. Okay, so Kavi Deepak asked, when can I buy a house? You can buy a house whenever you want. I can't tell you what to do. So if you want to rephrase the question into when will you, that's different. Again, a medium or a psychic can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do. If you want that individual to tell you what you shouldn't do, I would assume that you're asking that individual because you already value their direction, because telling somebody what to do is not very psychic at all. How psychic would I be if I just told you what to do and then you did it? You should go to the grocery store and buy apples. And then you go to the grocery store and buy apples because I told you to. And I go, see how psychic I am? You know what I mean? So we can't tell. And also, we don't want to create the energy. You have all autonomy over your life. You control your life. We're just here sitting in the background. You know, like when you're in like school and you have to answer the math question and the teacher goes, show your work. That is what it's like. Like you have to make the choices and do all that. We could get, so when can you buy a house? I don't know. So if you want to ask when will you buy a house? I get next year. And just and remember that sometimes a prediction doesn't mean it's the best outcome for you. It just means that's the outcome that you're getting. That's the outcome that we see. So buying a house, and if I see next year buying a house, doesn't mean that that's the greatest time to buy a house or everything's going to be perfect. You may be buying a house where it's not such a good market or there's going to be challenges. But the question is, do I see you doing that? Yes. And that's where I say, what's the, other than the fact it's fun, it's entertaining, what could be the benefit of getting a psychic reading? Because you could now hear something today before it happens. Therefore, you have all this time to make choices and look at life differently. Take a look at yourself, take a look at your surroundings, and look at what you're doing and try to make some changes. We, as psychic mediums, we love, like, the point, we want to be the catalyst of something different in your life. Like, we're trying to stop you in the intersection before it actually happens. We're saying, oh, that thing which is not so good is gonna happen. And so we're here, we want, like, this is where our joy is. We're like, we want to be there to say that's what's gonna happen for you. We're giving you that information so then you can be like, yeah, okay, if that's the path that I'm on, then I'm gonna do some work within myself and change things around, and so I don't end up that. So then when you come back, you say to us, that didn't happen. We're like, yes, that's what it is. So I do see a house being bought. Okay. Next question. I went through the process of hiring of Deloitte today and waiting on the results. Will I get the job? I see a job offer, but I don't know if it's from that company. I see a job offer, but I don't know if it's from that company. I know that sounds like whatever. Okay, I'll tell you what I see. I don't know if the position that you're going for, or if there's a position that you're going for a certain thing. I don't know if that works out to you for you, but something else within that company could work out. I do see that there's an opportunity that's going to be offered to you. So she went on to Aishka. Aishka asked that question. Aishka, and then Aishka went on to say the results came out. I didn't get in. I got shortlisted thrice, but couldn't get through the last round. I do see an opportunity being given to you. I'm not sure if it might not, that type of thing. Okay, and I'm gonna try to answer everybody's first question, and then I'll go back to the next. All right. Hold on, I did. Sorry, I clicked the wrong one. Again, I'm trying to answer everybody's first question, and then I'll go on to your second questions. That way, it seems a little bit more fair. Should the I should Renee Gibbs from Facebook says, should the idea I dreamt about last night about starting up a unique business plan be put in place? I can't tell you whether it should be put in place or not. Again, I can't tell you guys what to do. You make your own choices. A medium, a psychic likes to watch you make your choices, and then we like to look at the outcome and the ideas that you come to us before. Um, so basically, you're saying you had a dream about an idea, um, a unique business plan. Now, if you're having a dream about an idea, particularly a unique business plan, that means there's a part of you that has the where all, the know some, the, you know what I mean, to do it. Like, it wasn't like you had this idea. So it does exist within you somewhere. Now, doing a business is a big deal. Like, an idea is great and wonderful, but doing a business is more than just the idea. There's a whole bunch of aspects to the business. Um so this is not a psychic question, but I'm like, go for it. Like, go get it, girl. All right. And you guys are probably like, "Oh, she's asking answering all the, like, there's a lot of questions that I'm not going to answer because I'm trying to take the little hocus pocus out of a psychic reading and saying there's some logistic to it." So a psychic who's telling you what to, again, I'll say it again. A psychic who tells you what to do, how psychic are they? So when people get readings or say there's free readings, there's this impression that I want to ask a psychic what I should do, but in reality, that's not really being psychic. So I want people to um, I wanna get rid of that fib, misrepresentation. Kimberly Nevada. Hi, Monique. My other half is and I are currently apart. Do you see us getting back together? Do you see a delay in his move by the end of this month, end of this year, early next? I feel like we asked this question in another live. But yeah, here we go. This is she's not asking Kimberly. Kimberly, if not Nevada from Nate Facebook, is not asking me what she and her partner should do. She's asking me, what do I see? So then she could take, possibly if she likes, to take the insight that I have and kind of see if it makes sense, or see if she wants to move forward to it, or different things. Do My other half and I is currently apart. Do you see us getting back together? I do see you getting back together. Do you see a delay in his move by the end of this month or next year? Do I see that he's supposed to move, and do I see a delay in the move? No. I don't think I see a delay in the move. It depends on what the timeline is. But do I see him moving early next year? Yes. Or not early next year. Do I see him moving? I do see him moving. And I do see you guys like kind of getting back together. Like you guys are gonna you say you're currently apart. I do see that there'll be some togetherness again. So Brenda Murray from Facebook asked, I had a mediumship reading. My husband passed 3 months ago. I also have a terminal illness. Just want to sneak peek in my future. Again, I like, see, this is okay. I tend to not like general questions because I'm like, it's so broad. There's a million bajillion things. Just think about how old you are. Like, for example, I'm 40. And if I look back on my life, like even just a 10 years, so if 10 years ago I asked a medium or a psychic what was gonna happen, and like that's a lot of shit. That's a lot. Like, you know what I mean? So, and also I think it also another thing I want to show people that when you're listen, any tips or things that I give you here are also things that are gonna help you find a good psychic, or help you define what's a potentially not a beneficial psychic and what might be beneficial for you. Um I don't wanna get into the talk of, like, what's a bad psychic versus a good psychic, because it does come down to perspective. If you ask a question and it doesn't come true, it does not necessarily mean the psychic's bad. But if a psychic's trying to lead you, control you, determine what you should do, and those kind of things, then, or if they're trying to manipulate you or take advantage of you, those are kind of things. Um so, yeah, so when I look at general readings, I'm just like, that's too broad. Like, you are coming from a medium, you should have control of what you want to see. Like, you are control. It's like, think of me as the crystal ball, and you come in and you rub it. You're like, I want to see this, I want to see this. Don't put your life in the psychic's hands. Now, people say, well, the psychic will be able to pick out whether something significant's happening or whatever. That's the point. That's true. I don't knock that. That's true. But here, while this is a public platform, it's kind of like if I see something that I feel is significant for you, I still should be, there should still be a level of permission before I give you that information. You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes ignorance is bliss. And it's not to say that I would hide anything, but it's like, you know, when you say think about your future, you could be thinking about just like your kids, your family, and then I could tell you something that's like seemingly irrelevant. But anyways, but I digress. So that's why I like focus readings, because it's up to you. You see, you control. It's your life. If you don't have the question to ask, then it's insignificant. Um, so take a peek in your future, Brenda. I do see like a gathering that you're going to be a part of. It does feel very warm and nice, and it does feel very unique. Like it looks like some close family. So like how you would say like Christmas, but it doesn't look like it's going to be Christmas. It looks like it's like like an event like that you guys are going to plan together, and it feels very symbolic, almost like maybe there's going to be a like what do you call that? Like a tribute or like a memorial or like maybe not a memorial, but like something. So I see that. Um, I do see a lot in your future, like your perspective, and this is me telling you about yourself, but your perspective seems to be very this is gonna sound so cliche, but this is what happens when you don't ask specific questions. There's there there shows to be a type of like you're gonna take things more easier. Like things won't bother you as much. And I know that sounds like advice, like after you've been through so much, you'd be like, "Oh," and think no, I think literally, like things just you just feel like things won't bother you much. You're gonna be at like a little bit sense of peace and like an extra bit of wisdom. I think that your life changes in a way that you become very more not that you were closed minded, but very more open minded in a sense that I'm seeing you be in a situation where like other people are having issues or whatever, and they come to you and you're like the Yoda. Not like you're giving them, but you're just things just don't fall heavy on you. So if you've had a challenging life, I'm seeing that there's some peaceful days ahead, boy. And McGill from YouTube asked, McGill de Morio, Morio asked, "Will I ever move? I want to stay right where I am." Oh, yeah, I do see a move. Well, clearly, if there's a move that you would be reluctant to do so, but I actually see that this move won't feel like like where you're moving to. There's some excitement about it. That'd be like I say better, but like there's some like, I don't feel if you're worried about a tragic move or a difficult move or whatever, I feel like there's an interesting twist that this move is gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, okay, that's actually good." It looks like you're being offered something and it's really good. Okay, Sheila Hall Smith from Facebook says, "My mother passed away last month, August 17th, and I'm still grieving for her. I don't want to live because she's not here with me. I took care of my mother for years." Oh my gosh, Sheila. Like, and this is where I take personal offense to people saying they're psychic reading and then would want to feel like through psychic services that they can rectify this grieving process. Like it's horrible. Like like it's there's no like of course you're having such a hard time. This is not like this is of course this is so difficult. I completely empathize with what you're going through. Your mother and you took care of her for years, so you were that bond is it's a shock to the system. Um, I hope that you're getting any kind of support with the grieving process that you may need, whether it's to speak to a doctor and even just like a family doctor or a clinic or someone that is like designed and help you through that. And also know that woo, I'm here. Like we are I don't know what benefit or how this would help, but if anything, just being here on this live stream, this is what we're here for to just so you're not going through this alone. My goodness, Sheila. Like, well, I'm glad that you're here and that you shared this story. There are so many people who like they lose like someone like a mother or a parent or a child and they get upset with the grieving process. Like they're like, I'm still sad. I'm still sad. Like I should be no, well here you go sharing how like it's still taking you this long. And in my understanding, it's not like you wake up one day and it's gonna feel better, like you're gonna be okay with it. It's not. It's just that Monday turns into Tuesday, Tuesday turns into Friday, Friday turns into next month turns to next year. And during that time, when days are changing or whatever, there's things that are happening. So the experience of grieving and the loss, you know, but because Monday turns into Wednesday, that Monday something happened, Tuesday something happened, Wednesday something happened. And there will be interesting things, even small, tiny, large, grand that happen. And then Wednesday turns into Friday. So that means there's Wednesday, Thursday, and then so it's like life gets filled with so many other things because it keeps going on. So then there's a little bit of a counterbalance. There's a little bit of like, okay, well I did this. And it's all about you, Sheila. Like all about you. You take care of you. If you want to lay in bed all day, lay in bed. If you want to go for a walk that day, whatever. But I hope that you're getting the support that you need, and I hope that whatever brought you here today to add some little light, I hope you got it. Like I hope, you know what I mean? Even just being here and being around people, I hope that helps. All right. So, oop, oop, I'm seeing it. Oop, okay. So yeah, so death it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculously hard. It's not just hard because you feel sad. It literally is like you can, you know what I mean? You can blame it on your body and your mind, and you can say, my brain still hasn't. The longer your brain has a pattern and has a system and has and there's a reward, the longer it's going to take. These things are it's 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 not natural, you know? So bless your heart. Thank you for sharing that. I've had a lot of loss in my life as well. Um, a lot of loss. Like some losses that were like, okay, we were somewhat prepared. Like you're never prepared, but I had some losses where like we understood and we, went through the motions, and some losses that were like, what that like this didn't. So the trauma, it's just like I don't wanna compare de I'm doing this for myself, so it's not like I'm doing this, but I don't wanna compare death to, like, just, like, an injury. But, when they say when you break a bone, the bone will fuse back, but that bone grows a little bit larger or thicker or sometimes not. It's like that. It's like trauma and loss is something that it's like it's forever different. So how do you like, you know what I mean? Like how do you it's listen, we're here. And that's again where I want that if you lost someone and you're seeking a mediumship reading, I want to make sure that you're in a place where you can accept whatever the heck the medium is going to say, and that we're not at a place where we're dependent on that because we naturally are. When I lost my person, as much as I'm sharing this with you guys and telling you guys whatever, I still did this because it was just like natural. But I did remember and I reeled it back and I said, okay, I'm gonna lay in the bed for 5 days. Like I'm gonna not get up. I'm gonna maybe take that one walk, or I'm gonna hire somebody to do my laundry for me because I can't do it. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna eat all the chocolate. So um yeah, I just want to do that. I mean, while there was a little funny thing on my street, I walked down the street this morning, like a couple mornings ago, and my neighbors already have out their Halloween stuff. Like, already have like a full cemetery on their lawn, like full. They have the witches, the cobwebs, everything. I'm like, already. But then I walked into the stores, and I'm like, the stores already have Halloween. Like, gosh, I forget how fast this comes. So I'm like, I'm gonna get in it too. But with the death of the matriarch, the monarchy, the head of the monarchy and different things. I wanted to I've always thought about having this kind of live, talking about how I fear for the psychic community when it comes to mediumship. And I know there's mediums on TV and they do medium things or whatever, but remember that's a TV show. So everybody involved is prepared for that episode, that, that publication, that, you know what I mean? That thing in your own personal life when you're struggling with grieving. You know what I mean? When you're seeking a medium, you're not really seeking a show. You get what I'm trying to say? So we just want to be prepared. Okay, nice to meet you, Renee. Nice to meet you. Kenny Tantum, I did answer your question. So no, and I actually answered your question. I think you asked about 5. You asked me about moving into a house, and I answered that. So you are able to listen to this back on the replay. You are able to listen to this back on the replay. And also, I can't determine who's a female and who's not. So that's a stereotype we don't want to get into. Um, we may see a feminine name, but we can't assume that person is a female. But I answered your question. So, all right. You are very welcome. Nice to meet you too. Sheila continued with the doctor is trying to help calm me with nerve medicine. It does seem to calm, but I still listen. You want to watch my live stream a couple of days ago with my anxiety and my challenges with medication. The medications help. I am blessed for the medication, but I still had to work, and I know I have that too. Like I was like hoping that I would have medication and it would just like, whew, like, you know what I mean? Like if I have a headache, I take an ibuprofen and it helps. And I'm like, oh, I don't have a headache. I was hoping that would help with anxiety, but it didn't quite work that way either. It did take the edge off and it took the edge off for me to continue and do things in my life. But yeah, when that moment you're just like walking or doing the dishes and that sadness or the anxiety hit. Ooh, girl, I know the times, but I'm not a doctor, so don't whatever. But me personally, I've learned because I've been the person who'd be like, as soon as that hits, that like whether it's the sadness or the anxiety, I'm like, no, no, you won't, and I like fight through it. But that hasn't I've learned that I have to, like, drop down on the ground and, like, I have to I just submit to it, and it's not because I'm so smart and I know, it's because I realized that when I submit to it, I get through it faster. Again, I it's not like this is not advice, I'm just saying that sometimes it's like, when I just, like, wail out and just, like, give up and I'm not cooking dinner, everybody's eating cereal and candy for dinner, like, I'm not doing anything. I just give up, like, I just lie in the bed and whatever. I get through it faster. Yeah. Breath work has helped my anxiety so much. I've always okay, breath work is so real, but isn't that like the thing that everybody says? Oh, breathe through it, breathe through it. So then you think like, breathe through it. But no, I like how you wrote breath work because there's a difference between saying, oh, you're having anxiety or you're feeling that grief or you're feeling that pain and to say, breathe, 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 right? That doesn't always work for me. But when I think of it, breath work, it gives me like, yeah, breath work. And I actually, you know what? You should send me some of what the breath work that you're doing because I haven't nailed down breath work exercises. Well, I have. There's the one where you like breathe and then hold it. Is that right? And then let it go. Like you inhale and then you hold it and then you let it go. But I guess all what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of things that will help, and I think we want to. I know for myself, it's a the hardest part of getting through anxiety for me is not the actual activity, it's not the breath work or the it's like me remembering, oh yeah, this is actually a normal thing, like because every time it comes, I want to reject it, but every time I have to remember, oh no, wait a minute, I did just suffer a loss. Like, why would I ever be thinking I'm gonna be normal? That's what helps, because once I say that, like, once I, like, surrender to him, like, "Oh, yeah, I am a mess today. I do have OCD." Like, why would I ever think that would be normal for me? Then it gives me room to just kind of, like, be a part of it. I guess it's also the thing of, mother yourself or take care of yourself the way you would take care of a loved one. And I know if my daughter or my partner or anybody in my life is having anxiety, I don't tell them to get over it. I'm like bringing the tea, I'm like getting the apps, I'm calling the doctor. I'm doing all that, but when it comes to myself, I don't. So I try to think of myself that way. Yeah. Um Miguel says, "Well, what is hidden in my wall become a blessing or a curse?" Miguel Di Mario Morio. I'm like making up however I say that. I apologize. I'm pretty sure there's a way, but these are usernames, so I'm going to do my best. Will what is hidden in my wall become a blessing or a curse? I don't see anything hidden in the wall. So maybe I just don't see it. I don't see anything hidden in the wall. Um, for me, if I let the feeling wash over me, cry it out, I heal faster to let it go. Yeah, and I mean, it's like, you know how many times I've had a therapist or a doctor or even anybody or YouTube people or gurus say that, but it just does not register in my head because I guess I have such a control over myself or want to think. I'm like, no, because if I cry, it's never gonna end. I'm gonna cry for 10 years. Like, if I open these floodgates, it's never gonna end. So there's a control. So then once I did, not intentionally, but once I did, just it just came out. And once it was done, it was done. And I was like, Jesus. Now I did cry for like 2 or 3 days, which was still longer than I wanted to. I'm like, I need 5 minute cry, done. And again, I didn't say, "Oh, I'm gonna cry it out." It was like one of those where you can't even like, I don't know, the gate broke, like my boundary broke, and it just went, "Ah!" And it lasted 3 days. But when it was done, I was like, and I remember even myself trying to think about it and trying to provoke something because I'm like, "There's no way I'm still over." No, yeah, I guess I'm done. So I'm going with that. We'll see. We'll keep trying that one. We'll see if it works. And Miguel wrote, "Thanks. That must mean it's safe since you don't see it." I don't see any dangers. I do see some anxiety, but I don't see any dangers. So hopefully that helps, Miguel. Good. Um, it's so simple, but it's so complicated in my head. Absolutely. But that's always it. It's the most simplest thing that we overcomplicate, or in my case, just refuse it. Like really, I just refuse it, and that's why it gets complicated. I'm refusing it. That's why it gets complicated. But feel your feelings, and I mean, me as a psychic medium, I should be the first to be like, no, let your feelings out. So how could I be a psychic medium when I'm reserving that? But again, I'm human too. I could dish it. I could read all of y'all. I could read myself too, but I'm still a human. I'm still gonna have human experience. I'm no greater. Some of you guys have better healing things than me. Or if you were to come in my life, you'd be like, "What the heck? Like you're a mess." Or maybe you'll be like, "Oh, you're good at that." Oh, whatever. I'm still a human. I have just chosen to use something that I'm passionate about, an aspect of myself to hopefully provide it to other people. But you have it too. Sorry, I had to jump off for a second. Has my question? Oh, Rangamari Rui. Hold on. Let me look. All right, here we go. Here's your question. Oh, and I'm seeing all the other questions. Sorry, I kind of made a gap, but I'm getting your questions again. And Renee, I see your question and the redaction, the correction. All right. Um, will I get my Tennessee renewed? I don't think they want to. I think I think there's going to be a issue, like I feel like there's some resistance into renewing these things. I'm seeing a resistance to having this thing renewed, and I'm seeing that it looks like it's gonna be a not a fight. I don't want to use the word fight, but it looks like there's some resistance to getting this thing renewed, which means to me that it can be renewed or possibly should be renewed. Like there's a way like it can be renewed. Like it doesn't look like it's like a black and white decision. It looks like this thing is supposed to be renewed and then people are doing some things or there's going to be some things are said or some things that are going to be hidden. I would say keep your eyes peeled for proper information, validation of information, accuracy of things within this process. I know that sounds like advice, but it's because the words that I have for you is that they don't want it to be renewed. So think of it this way. Let's say I want to do something. I want to buy candy at the store, and the store does not want to sell it to me. Doesn't mean that I can't get my candy. There might be things that I need to do or things whatever. But there's a difference between saying they will not sell it to me versus they don't want to. Um and sometimes people in positions of authority take advantage of that. Like when somebody of authority says, I don't want to do something and they're of authority, it kind of gives the implication that they won't. But yeah, anyways, I could go on and on. We could talk privately about that, but that's the most I'll say about that. Um, so basically, if it doesn't get renewed, it might end up being a mutual choice of whether this thing gets renewed or not. Like you might not want it renewed or you might choose other options. I think yeah. There's some hidden options presented to you. We could talk. We could talk. We could talk. And she said, "Okay." She said, "Thank you, but that does make sense." Okay, we could talk. There's some things that we don't want to say publicly here. So I'd be mindful. Chandra, how long will I be at my current day job? Okay, I get October, and I know we're in September, so that's weird. But hold on, I get October. Hold on, I get October. I was trying to understand why I get October, but it's like I keep whatever. Okay, I get October. The thing, Sandra, I get October. Why did it looks like there's something to be switched over? There's some changes happening. There's some that I don't know. It's not like it feels completely mutual, but it kind of does. But it looks like something's coming to an end. But it looks like something can start again. I know. I feel like I'm not giving you guys very conclusive answers, but I get October. Chandra, I don't know if that makes sense. You may be like, "What? October? Why?" But that's what I feel. All right, and then my mom passed away. Oh, okay, I get. Okay, this is the one where you were redacted. Okay, I never word anything right, but that's why I needed to try. You were. Listen, we'll figure it out together. My mom passed. Oh, listen. You feel you haven't worded anything right, but yeah, I can't read right. Hold on. Renee Gibbs from Facebook says my mom passed almost a year ago, October 12th. I had to make the medical decision from 2,000 miles away. Did I make the right decision to let her cross? Well, I mean, but this is where you said you wanted to word the question. I didn't word the question, but you got what I'm trying to say. I never word anything right, she says, but that's what I needed to try. No, I think is it better over there? And will I be with them again? Is it better over there? There's no difference than there and here. Hold on, I'm double downing. I'm trying to do two things at the same time. No, because I feel like Renee. I think what I understand to be happening is that there's a couple layers of this. One, who the heck wants to make that decision? You know what I mean? It's not like a decision where like you're like you know what I mean? Like there's a cheer squad that's like, yeah, this is the right. This is like, you know what I mean? Even if for whatever the circumstances, everybody's unique. That this is the best decision for you and your family. Like, and everybody knows that. There's still not a cheerleading squad that's saying, do it. You know what I mean? Um, when if okay, this is not a psychic answer, but hopefully this helps. So if you're even being presented with the idea, because you are not, forgive me for using this word, you are not the executioner, okay? You are not the person making, you know what I mean? Like literally doing the choice. So that means somewhere in this process, someone of some, I don't want to say authority, but some knowledge or something, right? You know what I mean? Like you were presented with this choice. That means that I wouldn't give you a choice if it wasn't, if there was, you know what I mean? If one option was absolutely more better than the other. You know what I mean? Like I can't, if there was no water bottles at the store, any store, I couldn't give her, my daughter, the option of which water bottles she would make, right? But there's clearly it's an option. So you may feel, did I do the right decision or whatever? But what I'm trying to say is that it's one of those things where a decision, either decision would have been like needed to be made. So if one was going to be worse than the other, then it wouldn't be an option, right? You understand? Um, there's always things to consider. So like um it's like if you do this, this and this will have to take place. If you do this, this and this will have to take place. So if you take away the do this and you look at all the things that have to take place, that's kind of where the nuances of these kind of choices make sense, right? um if you didn't make the choice, then these are the way you would have been living and these are the things that you would have to take on. If you did, you know what I'm trying to say? So while I can't answer that question, it's not a really a psychic question. Like I can't tell you whether, like, I don't have that law. Like I don't have that, you know what I mean? I don't control life and you don't control life in that say you were making a decision based on those kind of things. So hopefully when you think of that and when you struggle with that, you can think to yourself that some there was decisions that I was already made before me. I'm the one who confirmed what kind of outcome whatever. It's a tricky way to say it because of what we're talking about, and I don't want to use examples to nullify or you know what I mean. Like comparing this to my daughter using a water bottle is not very good, but I was only doing that because I'm trying to give in a context, anyways. Um, and then Brenda asks, "Is it better over there? Over where?" When people, in my theory, people who passed are still right here. They're still on Earth. They're still here. They're just not experiencing Earth the way you are. They're experiencing Earth on emotional, intuitive level. They're just not. They don't have to wait in the gas station line. They can be still frustrated about it. They can be upset about it or whatever. They just don't have to do the physical thing. So it's still there. Think of it like there's a there's a there's air in this world and there's also steam. Steam you could see, air you can't. Um so better over there. They didn't go, in my theory they didn't go anywhere. So if when somebody's saying is it better over there or better over there, it's really about like I have to physically do these things and I'm having a hard time, but emotionally I'm having a hard time. So it's not like one place is like it's not different. Your loved ones are still energetically here. They're just not physically here. So if you're challenged, that's how I see it. Um when we say, oh, are they more happier there? I mean, if I didn't have to walk, oh my gosh, because the walk for school pickup is down the street where there's no shade, and it's, like, sometimes the sun and it's just, like, all concrete and it's hot. If I didn't have to physically walk down that path, I'd be a better woman. If I could just energetically be there somehow, emotionally pick her up and emotionally support her as she comes home and protects her, sure. Um, no, what I'm trying to say is that in my theory, they're not somewhere else. They just don't have a they're just not experiencing our life physically. So if somebody's saying like, "Is it better?" It's just really saying like, "I don't wanna experience life physically," but you'll still have the same emotions and feelings and all those kind of things. You might have a different perspective, but you can also choose to have that different perspective while having a physical body. So I don't have to wait at the gas station line, which will make my legs tired, and I have back pain, so it will make so physically, it's a problem. Emotionally, I might not mind. I can look on my cell phone, I can watch TikTok, I can listen to live streams, I might not mind. So, is it better to experience it emotionally or is it better to experience it physically? Things can be different. Um, and that's how I see it. And that's why we can still communicate um with things. That's how we communicate with our loved ones in the past, which brought us to the question, how do you receive your immediate messages? The same way I receive same way I receive communication over somebody who's living. It's just mediumship messages for me are less well, Chandra, I'm just gonna use in terms that because I know Chandra's a reader on here too, who does a different style. So for me, it's less clairvoyant, and more clair clairsentient and clairaudient. Um, not full clairaudient, but pretty clairaudient. That's how I get my mediumship messages. It's like a conversation, kind of like a conversation with my eyes closed. Um, so it's more of like what I feel and like the words that I'm hearing and like how, like that feeling. Yeah, I actually don't get too much. When I'm connecting to the individual. So if somebody says, "Can you connect to Aunt Lucy Lou?" I will start to get a visual image of Lucy Lou, of what she looks like, but I don't get her, like, acting things that like, I don't get her doing that, like, I don't wanna get it too far, but I'm wondering and Chandra, I'm wondering if that's because she does not have a physical body, so therefore, I can't you know what I mean? Like, I won't see things she's doing physically. I sometimes get motions, like but then that's not really like I'm seeing it. Like, I'll get, like, I had one client and I kept getting like, this feeling, but that's how it felt to me. Like, it wasn't like I was seeing it, but I kept getting this, like, feeling like this, and they explained that the person that was the subject of the reading, um, would pet her like a cat often, and she hated it when she was younger. Um, but I didn't actually see that. That was just a feeling that I got, but anytime I get a feeling, it turns into images, but I don't get images first the way I do in certain things. Like if somebody asks me about a job, I will get an image first before sometimes even get a feeling. So that's interesting. Ah, something that I could think about on my own. Yeah. That any clear audience for mediumship? Clairaudient I don't know if I'm saying it, but clairaudient, like, I hear? That's what I meant for mediumship. Like, I'll hear like, internally hear a conversation. So, you know how, let's say you're having let's say you had a conversation with your husband or your partner or your kid or whatever, right? Yesterday. And so now you're thinking of that conversation, so you're hearing it but I'm not hearing it externally. Like, I don't hear well, my head will turn, but that's just, like, neurological for me with, like, the tick that I have. but I will hear it internally in my head, more so than if I am reading a live person. And for me, sometimes that's the only way I would know if the person that I'm reading is alive or deceased. There's lots of times where somebody's asking me about something. Yes, like my thoughts almost, but it's like a running dialogue, like a running conversation. And, sometimes it's happened where, like, I'm reading someone and I will like, sometimes I'll ask, like, "Is this person deceased or alive? Are they living or alive?" Because it's energy, especially when they're not. But that's one thing for me that will help define because I won't get visuals of that person who's deceased. Um, I'll get a words, I'll get feelings, but me, in any time of my life, words and feelings create images. Whereas when I'm being clairvoyant, I get images first and then I watch it. Like, so I'll get images that I feel that I'm not making up. Like, I'll get images like a movie. Like, clarity is like literally in my head. It's like turning on Netflix and I'm watching it and I'm trying to explain with no subtitles, no words, nothing. It's like explaining a picture book. And I get that more for when people are alive. But when it's the opposite, it is. But I know that, but this is the first time that I've actually talked and broke it down to, like, completely understand about myself. You know, sometimes the things you just do, but you don't really question it too much. This is the first time, so thank you for that interest. And then your brain will tell you, right? Yes, like, how do we explain that? Like, I want science to really catch up with the psychic community, so then I can have, like, science words. Because 'cause sometimes, like, there's no science word. How do you call what do you is there a word for, like, internal thoughts, but they're not my thoughts? Yeah, I think you get it. Hi, Lisa, welcome. Yeah. So almost like thoughts. I guess the reason why I'm refraining from thoughts because for me, my thoughts are active and they're intentional. Like I'll go, well, all of us, but that's how I break up thoughts because I'll go, I want to go to the Walmart today. But I won't say that out loud. I'm just saying that for you. So that would be thought, and I'll go, that's what I call thoughts. When I'm picking up or receiving information, it's like a conversation that's literally happening inside my head, but I know it's not out like, I can tell the difference. Um, not whatever to bring this in, but for, like not for example, but a person who suffers from schizophrenia or suffers from auditory hallucinations will perceive those thoughts, those that is outside their head. Like they actually hear a sound that they have to turn to, or they'll be looking for like they'll hear a knocking, they'll be looking for that. Me, it's not like it's that, but I know it's not external. So that's some complicating things for you. Yes, internal dialogue. I think the word is internal dialogue. I think that's what it is. I guess I just didn't really know, but yeah, it's internal dialogue. Yeah, because internal dialogue can be different from thoughts. Yeah. We're gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have so much to research tonight. I'm gonna research and type in my Google, what is the definition of thought? What's the psychological term for thoughts? What is the scientific term for thoughts? What are the neurons' actions related to thoughts? Like I'll be doing that all night because like I'm very interested in now. It's like separating your thoughts. Yes, yes. So the things that my thoughts are things that I'm putting out, even if it's just to myself. And when I'm receiving information, it's the things that just come to me that I did not intentionally try to think of. Um, and that's when I was saying earlier, I was like, tips and tricks to connect with people who've passed on. Sending your communication is one thing, but the what I think is a little bit more of a challenge would be receiving because especially if it's a loved one or whatever it is that we're going through, we attach fear and anxiety and then we kind of want to tailor what we hear to whatever. So if I have a question for my girlfriend who passed or about a guy I'm dating or something, right? Like, what do you think about this guy? And I'm anxious about it. Um, I have to remind myself, wait, no, this is not a time to ask her that, or this is not a time to do that. So I'll just table that question, like, oh, I'm dating this guy. I want to know what she thinks of him. I'll table that for a time after the date or whenever I'm just in my life and I'm not as anxious about it. And then I will go back and remember these are the things that I want. So that way it's a little bit more that like allowing things to come in instead of me thinking, oh, she probably thinks this or she'll probably think this. Just, yeah, quieting the mind and letting it, whatever. And that's where, like, meditation happens when people meditate and they start thinking about all the things and they think that they're supposed to not think. And no, when you meditate, the idea is that you don't judge what comes in and what goes out. Priya. Priya, hello. Hi, Lisa. I hope you're enjoying this too. Priya from YouTube says, what does S feel about me now? I have broken up with him. Oh, gasp! I haven't used those in a while. What? Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me get back on track. That totally distracted me. What does S feel about you? A little bit of like okay, a little bit, not on the scale of like 10 being super offended and 1 being not offended. I think it's about a 3. There's a little bit of like a and also like a feeling of like doesn't feel you're right for doing that. Not that he could judge you, but there's a feeling of like, no, this isn't right. But at the same time, feels like kind of feels not blindsided, not like, whoa, didn't see it coming, but kind of feels like unprepared for that. I don't know if anybody's ever prepared for a breakup, but kind of feels that way. So that's what they're feeling about that. What do they feel about you? They just have okay, remember, what I read about someone else, I'm not justifying, I'm not agreeing with this behavior, I'm not disagreeing with this behavior, I'm just articulating this behavior. You, as a person getting the reading, you have authority to hate that behavior, dislike it, or like it. Like, it's your life. I don't, right? Um, but I feel the perception right now, how they feel about you, they feel like you make bad choices or they're questioning your whole entire purpose, like who you are. It seems very negative, but it's also like that's how they feel from the breakup. Like that's how they feel. They feel like again, they don't feel blindsided, but feel a little like I guess the words would be like what? That's dumb or whatever. Or no, that's not a problem with us. Or you shouldn't feel that way. And then they walk around like, oh, well, she's not thinking right or that kind of thing. So not like a horrible judgment of you. Just, yeah, it just feels like you, yeah. And her, Priya's response is, yes, it's his view. He can be the hero. It's his narrative. Yeah, it kind of has like a, yeah. We can try to be authority over other people's feelings, but in reality, we never can. We could say that's silly, but in reality, Hi Todd, welcome, welcome. Wonderful to see you here too. I am about to leave soon. I've been on here. So again, to wrap up, thank you guys for hanging out. We did talk how to communicate with ghosts. Oh, and I just want to say about ghosts, I only put the word in ghost just to make my title for this live seem a little, fun and interesting, but I don't actually use the word ghost unless I'm being silly. Um, a ghost, I think, represents something like a paranormal activity, something that's scaring somebody or haunting. And I think I think the deceased and their energy deserves more. Like, just because I don't have a physical body and I'm only a spiritual body doesn't mean I'm going to run around haunting people. Like, I'm still me. Like, you know. So I only use ghosts to kind of inflame that. But in the side of, do I believe in paranormal or perceive paranormal activity? Not yet. I have never witnessed any or perceived, or even when people come to me with paranormal activity, have I had that? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I always say it's two different worlds. It's asking air or energy that we can't see to interact with energy that we can see. Now, while that can happen, it's kind of like I feel paranormal activity is an understanding that both are there's no delineation. So basically when I die, I don't I'm still physical and can do physical things, but I think that negates me as a person and say, "No, my physical body's there. I'm still powerful emotionally, intuitively. Like you don't have to make me more than I am. Like it's okay." So that's where I kind of have take issue with paranormal activity, but I've never seen it. But I mean, in the science of it and the fact that can energy influence matter? Absolutely. Um, so I I understand that and I receive that, but I also come from the intention. If I'm a deceased person and I'm just energy, what is my intention when it comes to flicking on the light switch or moving items around? Like, what is my intention? What am I trying to do? And sometimes the intention is to communicate with my living loved ones, but there is a greater, more speedy, more non scary for the loved ones way to communicate with them. So I wouldn't, you know what I mean? It comes to intention. So let's say an energetic body who no longer has a physical body and is called deceased in our language can move things around, sure, but I'm like, why? What would be the motivating factor of that? Just to mess around with people? But if you're just energy and your intention is to just mess around with somebody, then that would articulate that you have a limited mind of who you are. Because if you're energy, you would understand that you could influence people energetically. You understand? So that's where you know, I'm at with ghosts. Um, but yeah, I when I use the term ghost, I mean like a living person. I could use the word ghost for. In Jamaica, we have a word like for ghost. It's called duppy, and you could call somebody who's living, not a person who's died. Like duppy means ghost, but you could. It's a phrase where you can call like a living person a duppy if they're like bothering you or haunting you or bothering you. It's just like they're just like a duppy, or they're just like So that's where I use it. So that's where the context of that. I want to explain that so people could understand the non paranormal in that way activity of this. Um so yeah. So there you can play back the beginning if you just want to hear what I have to say about how to communicate with your loved ones or what that's about or what I feel. Remember, these are all my I believe these things, but they're also my theories. There's no way for me to scientifically prove this as fact. So therefore, I'm inviting you into my world and my understanding, and you can also have your world and understanding. So I'm not a psychic saying this is how it actually is. You have to. I'm saying this is my world and this is my understanding. This is what I perceive and this is what I experience. All right. So thanks for hanging out. Um, Hold on, I just had to block a spammer. Sorry, guys. They kind of get in when I'm off in those talks, and they kind of just like, hold on, let me follow up with some of the things you guys saying. I've been hearing and seeing what I think is external, but not, and screaming because it's so startling at first. Feels like I'm going crazy. So, what? I'm not a doctor, but when I okay, so how do I start? There Okay, so there's a lot. Okay, so Chandra, let's say you heard something and it felt external, right? That's a true experience for you. That is not like no one can say you did not like you literally like you know what I mean? It's a true experience for you. Okay? Um so the medically, the mind is an interesting thing, but there you know when you hear some you feel like you hear your name but nobody calls your name. We all many of us have experienced that, right? No one can say to me that I didn't have that experience. They can say, "Well, I'm the only one in the room and I didn't do it," right? So, that's again going back to you can have an experience that can't be validated, but it does not make the experience disappear for you. Okay? So that's one part of that. So if you're feeling that you're hearing something external, that's an experience. That's a real experience. That's it. That's enough. You could just say I felt like I you can even say I'm not sure, but that's what you're experiencing. That's enough. That doesn't need to be like you actually have unless you're lying, but you're not. You know what I mean? Because it's your own experience, right? So taking in that, okay, so would to define on is that a spirit speaking to me externally? Is it not? W- 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 We would have to break down your understanding of that because if somebody believes something, they're gonna have experiences related to that. If you don't believe something, you're not gonna have experiences related to that, right? So if you're hearing an external sound, right? Like for example, again, I'll go back to um people who have auditory hallucinations like schizophrenic or whatever, right? They you can have a person who's schizophrenic that is not spiritual and doesn't have a theory of energy deceased and energy and spirits and things. They don't have that. But they will still hear something external or feel they hear something external. They have that experience. It's a real experience. What they contribute it to might be, "Oh my gosh, I'm having hallucinations. I need to see a doctor." Or, "Oh my gosh, people out in my you can't see them, but there's other people there and they're talking to me," right? They can have that's a true experience. So you wouldn't say to a schizophrenic person, "Oh, you're crazy because you're hearing things." You're saying, "Oh, you're having that experience. How do you feel about that experience? Is it terrifying for you? Is it uncomfortable? Is it something you wanna get rid of? Is it that type of thing, right? So, and that would be so again, because let's say we're all intuitive, but we're intuitive different ways. I'm not very clairaudient, like I was explaining, like, it's internal dialogue, where I've met some mediums who articulate that they actually hear it as if it's like somebody is lit like, they couldn't tell the difference whether it's someone sitting next to them or not if their eyes were closed. So that is something that they are having that experience. But does it how do I say? Not that we're trying to create things, but does it make sense to you know what I mean? So if you're hearing things something external and you are like, I'm not sure of what that is, basically what I'm saying is that's the activity to explore that and then try. Don't make an assumption about it. Don't say, "Oh, it's spirits or it's that." Like just explore it and see. And all the time I always say, this is just like my bottom line. If you're having any psychic experience, spiritual experience, and it scares you, it's most likely not. It's most likely not. It's most likely not. Now, something can make you uncomfortable. Like I'm not always uncomfortable that I pick up things about people, especially people that I don't know too well. I always feel uncomfortable because it's like I feel like I know something and then whatever and then it's just uncomfortable. Does it scare me? No. So anxiety mixed with like so and the reason why I say if it scares you, it's probably not a spiritual experience because fear creates a whole bunch of stuff. That you know what I mean? That's what fear is. Fear is to get you alert and get you paying it like it amplifies things in a way, right? When you are calm, meditated, and all those things, you receive everything and it won't be scary because you know what you're receiving. So when you're calm and you're meditating, you're calm and you're receiving words, a conversation from whatever, you already know that. Like you already know that. So it won't. So fear is because there's something unknown. And so if your intuitive and your morals and your values are not aligned with your experience, that means it's something unknown to you. So I would say explore it a little bit more. Like don't judge it. Just like, oh, I heard that again. Write it down. Write it down. Write down the time. Write down what you heard. Like, you know what I mean? Just explore it. So, like somebody would say, I'm hearing dead people talk to me. I wouldn't I don't I couldn't be like, no, you're not. Like, I don't they didn't talk to me. Right? Yeah, absolutely. And she said, "It's not scary, it's more like it startled me because it come out of nowhere." Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't have an experience. You're having an experience I don't have. So I don't have something I can go, but maybe let me think of things that were startled me in my and I'll say this and I'm I don't like talking about this, so I'll say it and then I'm going to leave. But when I see a potential passing before it happens, not in a reading, just in life. Like I get clairvoyance of a passing before it happens. Those that was something that again, the experience didn't scare me, but it startled me and it was something that like I don't yeah, so maybe I'm relating a little bit where it's like something that you're experiencing that's like what the heck like why would I why what is that? What the heck is that? But I can say what I did there. I was forced to well, I went the route that many do. I started asking other readers. I started looking for, a mentor, a spiritual mentor. I did all of that, and then I realized I need to just figure out me for a second. I need to figure out what is it me? Like, is it me? Like, what is it? Why is it? And then when I got there, I understand. So, um, ooh, I'm so excited. I'm excited for Medium Healer. Yeah, let's see what Courtney says. So, Courtney, how do you receive when it's mediumship? How do you receive? Hold on, I got to block somebody. How do you receive mediumship communication? Is it visual? Is it clairaudient? Is it clairvoyant? Is it clairaudient? Is it just clairsentient? How do you receive that? That's where I am. I think. Yeah, yeah. Because remember, being intuitive, you're a unique individual, so you're gonna receive intuitive things slightly different. I mean, we have categories, right? We've all like we together have categorized certain things. Like we've categorized visions as clairvoyant. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's some nuances in there, right? See, Courtney says clairvoyant. Never heard a voice. Interesting. Interesting. And when we say voice, Courtney, because is it okay, so I have to differentiate the 2. I've never heard, like, a passed on person, like, talk to me as if someone's sitting in the room. I've never heard that. But I can hear I pick up internal like, it's internal dialogue, like, what they would be saying, what does it feel like, what does that kinda stuff. So, like, I'm with you. I've never heard a ghost, for the lack of a better word, talk to me. Um Courtney also, recites, "I feel like being intuitive helps, like I'll connect to a flower or a type of plant or an animal to connect with spirit." Interesting. Voice is more tone deaf, but they talk though. Yeah, yeah, yes, thank you, because I didn't know how to explain it. It's like they talk, but they don't talk. I think that's right. And for me, the dialogue, like, okay, when I'm receiving, it's super fast. Like, even though I'm not hearing it's not like somebody's going like talking super it's just like the amount of information that comes in is so fast that like I have to like turn it into dialogue to like translate it, I guess. Because if it was me, the client would sit down and they would ask about the person who's passed on, and then they would just have a tube hooked up to my head, and then all the information would go, and I don't have to do the work of actually like translating it. Um, Interesting, interesting. I'll be able to know if they have an accent. Interesting. And when you're reading the passed on person and you say you're clairvoyant, are you seeing their actions, like seeing them in your in your clairvoyant mind? Or is it that you could, cuz I don't see their actions clairvoyantly, but I can, if you like the name will, I can then picture the person. Like I can see their hair color, their face shape, their body. Like I see almost like it's like I'll get a still. I won't get a film, if that makes sense. Mm. Picking up an elderly woman. She's talking about light blue eyes and a pink flower. You see flashes of what happened in her life. Well, there you go, you guys. That's another example that past on people are around us. Like they live among us. They live among us. They just don't have physical bodies. So it's kind of like what you're tuned into or what stands out, like what, you know what I mean? Like my neighbors are over there doing their lawn, I think. The other neighbor is over there walking her dog. Like they're around. I can't see them, but they're around doing their thing. So if I start to pay attention to what the neighbor's doing or neighbor, then I'll start to get more information. Courtney says their name helps me see everything of them, but how I explain how I receive messages is like is like fishing, millions of fish, but only a few actually catch. Interesting. Yeah. Some same with messages in other view. Yeah. I'm glad that you came in here because I mean, it's all about me. I mean, this is my life. I'm talking about me. But sometimes it's good to have like I want like other people to say what they experience because I have my views, but like I always say, I'm a unique individual, so the way I walk is slightly different from another human, but in context, I walk the way humans walk. I walk upright. Like we all do the same thing, but there are some nuances in how we do it. There's a little bit of a flavor or a twist or different things, and that's because it comes from you. And so the only way to be to truly connect to your self or be more intuitive is to connect more to yourself. Like it's an autonomous career. It's super autonomous. Yeah. We spoke about a year ago. No way. And she said, when I found out I was a psychic, I'm a subscriber. Oh, right. Well, welcome. I feel like you might have galactic in your butt. Oh, Courtney, listen, I don't get into that, but I love hearing about it. Like, tell me about my galactic thing because I hear this a lot. I hear this a lot, and I'm really excited about that. Okay, I gotta go though. I gotta go, but we gotta meet up. Let's meet up next week. What's your plans? What's your schedule like? I'm free on Fridays. I live stream here on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, so let me know when you're free. Courtney, Chandra, Aishka, Priya, Lisa, everybody, McGill, Kenny, Rena. Let's all meet up again here. Okay, bring your friends. Tell your people because I do have to go eat lunch. And I did say I have some stuff to think about now. Now I'm gonna be like in deep dive thought about mediumship and stuff like that. Um, but I'm very interested. I don't know, maybe my live will be about that. I couldn't do a whole live about galactic and Andromedon and Orion and you know the those things because I don't know. I'm so ignorant. Like I don't know much, but I do know somebody who knows a bit. And so maybe I can invite, but that's a lot. Remember OCD, I have to take my time because I will start thinking things, seeing them, and then get obsessed on them. So little bit by little. But one day we'll do those things. All right, you guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for participating. Like, subscribe, follow, share. If you want a private reading with me, I do those all day. That's my actual career. That's my actual 9 to 5. The links are in the description. Um, she's a very positive around your light. The link is in the description box if you want to book a reading with me. Um, if anybody on Facebook named MoniqueEmpath wants to follow you and they're saying that they're a psychic, it's not me. I won't follow you back. I can't follow you back. I can't friend you. It's not me. I will never do a reading in the DMs. I will never, whatever. When you do book a reading for me, it's secured through PayPal or through Stripe. That's the only way. There's no other sending money, and you will get a private conversation with me and you. All right, you guys. You guys have a blessed day. Take care of yourself. Remember, trust. I know it's cliche, but when I say trust your intuition, I think what I'm saying is if you feel it, just go with it. Like, that's okay. You don't need to try to validate it. You don't need to try to gather. Just commit to it. Just say, that's what I feel. Continue to that. Maybe that would be the exercise for the week. Just anything, even if it's something small. Probably it'll be hard to do that with a lot of things, but something small in your life that you feel and you don't have evidence for or facts for, just stick to that. Just stick to that for the week, at least for the week, okay? That would help you get more autonomous within yourself and being able to trust yourself because you have all the actual answers truly. All right, you guys, bye bye.